Hey guys, so today we have MSI for change. This is RTX 3090 Ventus 3X. I borrowed it from somebody who let me have it, so I can show the repad process on that one. So I think this one is currently running on OEM pads, and I don't know the history of the GPU, but right now the memory temperature reaches 104 or more degrees, and I will post the result in the video, or the before and after results. The core temperature is actually quite high as well. So we're going to open it up, replace the pad, and close it back up and show you the process. So this is also part of developing, a set of pads for that particular model. So this is a sleeve for another one, but basically my purpose is also to test pieces that I've cut to size in preparation for repadding that GPU. So you'll see this GPU actually has many pieces of pads. I mean, that's if I got it right, all of that will be used to replace the pad on the GPU. So it's going to be quite a puzzle. So we'll try to get things sorted out. So without further ado, let's get started on that GPU. So I opened it once just to take a quick look at it. I'm not overly familiar with it. What I've noticed on that particular one is that there seems to be multiple type of screws, especially these two screws have a lower profile head, and this is why they are flush with the backplate. Also, the screw, there's a small hole that they go into, so we want to make sure not to mix those two screws with those, 8 ones or 7 ones. Otherwise, it's not going to fit nicely. So because this is 3090, we have to replace the pads on the front PCB and back PCB. And you'll see there are quite a few on both sides. And then what we'll do, I'll point out which pads are different between the 3080 Ti and the 3090, but basically there's going to be very little difference between the two. So this one we cannot separate the backplate or from the PCB before we get to the front. So that's a little bit tricky. So you need to remove everything, flip it around, remove the screws on the front PCB, and then you get access to the back. Right, so for that one, there are 2 connectors which are there that are basically connecting the fans and the, RGB. I don't even know if there's any RGB on that one, but that connects the fan for sure. They don't need to be removed. So you're welcome to remove them if you want. You just have to pull them and wiggle them out. When I don't need to, I don't like to remove them so that I'm not taking any chance of breaking the bracket or the holder. So from there, we just need to push. So this part, the black part, is associated with the PCB. So we need to basically, let's see. How is this coming out? There you go. It's very sticky. And there you have it. So the thermal paste is still pretty liquidy. This is maybe why there was, poor temperatures, because it probably smeared on the side and there was poor contact somewhere. You can see the OEM pad leaking oil all over the GPU. They are not in bad shape, but when the oil leaks out, then the conductivity is dropping. So this is what I was saying on that GPU. Look at all the pads that are on that GPU, and not just for the front. So discover all those caps and those ones, and those are the MOSFET, those are the VRM. So covering that is questionable whether it's really useful, but I will replace everything nevertheless. So we're not going to touch it just now. Let's get to the rear of the PCB. So we have 1, 2, and 3 screws to remove, and that should be enough to get us to the back. And these 2 screws are the same, and the third one you'll see is much different. It's much longer than the other ones. Alright, so you just separate it. There you go. Alright, so same thing here. What do we have? We have oil leaking from the pad a bit all over the place. Pads are not necessarily in bad shape. They still look good, but they degraded over time. A little bit of additional piece just to cool the connection of the MOSFET. It's really overkill, but MSI decided to have that, the copper stripe that takes the heat from the rear to the heatsink connecting through the side, which, to be honest, this is a better solution than some other AIB. We did not include anything. So let's clean up the back, change the pad on the back, then we'll flip it around, we'll secure it, and we'll clean up the front, and then we'll do the front. But first, before we start doing that, I think we should start sorting out the pieces of pads. Alright, so this one will go there. Then we have those for the VRAM. So the front and back pad will be the same thickness. They are going to be 2 mm and 2 mm. When they are compressing, they are compressing to 1.8, 1.85. So 2 mm is going to give you good compression. The pads on the side, I believe on the back, are 3 mm. I did not have any 3 mm handy, so what I did, I cut 2 stripes of 1.5, and then we can put that on the back. And then we have that one. So that's 3, that's 3, that's 2, and this one is 1.5. Right. So I think that's going to be 1. I think the shorter one, yeah, there are 2 together. These ones are going to go on that side. And we need to find the other one that's of the same length. Should be that one, and this one is going to go in replacement there. Okay. Alright, so we have one more piece there. So let's put that aside. And let's get cleaning. At least a good thing with those pads, they don't seem to be leaving a mess, which I do appreciate. I don't want to spray. So this is isopropyl alcohol. That's good enough. Right, that's done. So now let's put pads back on the GPU. So like I said, those are 1.5, but because we need 3, so we're just going to double them up. It's really not an issue, especially for not very important components, to double up the layers. It still works quite well. So usually I really like to put the pad on the PCB directly, so I know exactly where they go and I can make sure they fit perfectly. However, in that case I could put them there between the screws, but on that end I need to be careful to not cross basically the copper line. So on that one I'm going to put it directly on the back plate, even though I don't like it, and I'll put everything else on the PCB. This one is 1.5, which is basically the height of the screw. And then we can do this once. and we can do the VRAM. And so, like I said, those pieces are 2 millimeters. Alright, that's it for the backplate. We can put it back together. So let's put, let's see how can I center it easily. That's, I'm not sure. Alright, so you can put some pressure on the front to make sure you have good contact with the pads in the back. That should be good enough. Let's put the 3 screws back on it. Okay, now we need to clean. Oh, I forgot that. Oh no, this one goes after, so we're good. We did not need to put that one. I did not think of it that the PCB was only covering up to that point. You know what? I'm probably going to maybe protect it. It's not the right one. Okay, I'll try to be careful on that one. So we can wipe off paste and everything else, and we'll spray some alcohol and try to remove everything else. So those pads there are 2 millimeters, 2 millimeters, 2. This one, I believe, is 1 millimeter, and this one as well. So these two are 1 millimeter, so they are the thinner one and wider one. All those 3 will be the same from the one I have pre-cut, and these two are basically the same as that, but just slightly bit longer. This one are 30 millimeters in length, 7 millimeters in width, and 2 millimeters in thickness. And those pads there are 2 millimeters as well. Alright, that's interesting. This is stuck in the heatsink. Or not, I don't know. They are very chewy. I don't know how easy it's going to be to clean that. pretty clean. Alright, I'll work on these guys and I will see you in a bit. Alright, so we are back with a pseudo-clean GPU. In retrospect, given the struggle to remove the goo from between the fins, I would recommend just using a metallic brush or something like that. I did not have one here with me, otherwise I would have used that, and I think this would have done a quick job of taking the goo out of the fins. The good thing again is, like, anyways, those components are not very critical in terms of cleaning, and the new pads are going to cover one and of those areas. So I'm not too concerned that it's not perfectly clean. There's a bunch of pads left in between the fin there and in different places. It's not going to be an issue. It's not going to have a negative impact, except that it doesn't look super clean. With that being said, everything else is clean. We're making sure that the paper towel we used did not leave too much pieces on it, and then we can get ahead and repad. So there's going to be quite a bit to add. So let's position the pads first. On that one, we'll definitely put the pads on the PCB and put them on the PCB, then we can just close it up. So the easiest one to locate, obviously, the VRAM pads. Then what do we have? We have, in that one, we have two small pieces. They are going to cover these two modules. This is 1 millimeter thick. Then we have a first stripe that's going to cover those guys, and then we should have these two that are going to cover that and that, which are the power modules. They're the same lengths, it seems. And then among the 5 stripes we have left, we should have 3 of the same length and 2 that are shorter. So the shorter ones are the ones going there. So, or actually I got the other one. Shorter ones go there. One will go there. There. And that one is actually cut too long, so we'll trim it just a little bit. So this is what happens when you try to develop the set. You don't get all the dimensions perfect the first time. And there you have it. Alright, so let's work our way through it. No particular order, I just again like to do the VRAM last, so that if I accidentally touch them or drop something on it, I'm not going to damage the most important parts from the GPU. This is a thin one. This is a 1 millimeter that's wider than the other. I think it's a bit longer than what it really needs to be. So let's adjust it a bit. There you go. Let's do the tiny ones. And we can do that side now. Again, on the black modules, which are the VRM, we're using the 1 millimeter. Everything else is 2 millimeter on that specific model. So all of that is 2 millimeter. This is 1, and this is 1. Everything else is 2 on that side. This is 1.5, like mentioned before. How did we screw up? Yeah, I think we got it the other way around. I think these two should be 2 millimeters. Alright, we'll adjust it in a second, and the one all the way at the bottom should be 1, which makes this stripe a tiny bit too wide, but it will fit. Right, and let's fix that side too. Alright, so I think we have it sorted out. So these three are 2 millimeters. All of these are 2 millimeters. The one at the bottom is 1 millimeter. The 1 millimeter is going to contact that piece. Those are the offset. They are the second, probably most important components to be cooled on the GPU, so it makes sense they have a nice contact with the heatsink piece. And 1 millimeter is definitely better than 2. The rest is just 2 millimeter, which is going to contact on those still dirty areas. And then we have these two small pieces that go there. This one was from before that contacts to the heat pipe from the backplate. And so we have left to do is to put the VRAM pad, put the paste, and we should be able to close it up, and we'll see if we screwed up anywhere. So there was one thing I mentioned earlier I wanted to say when we were looking at the backplate. So the VRAM pads on the backplate are the same as those ones, and this is for the 3090. Obviously, on the 3080 and 30 Ti, there will be no VRAM modules on the backplate, on the backside of the PCB, I mean. And so there are pads still from the OEM, and they seem to be slightly smaller in terms of width than the VRAM pad. So this would be basically the only difference between the 3080, 3080 Ti and the 3090. But the pads will be the same thickness on the back. So really, those pads we use on the 3090 will exactly the same pad and dimension would work on the 3080 and 3080 Ti. Alright, we took all the plastic wrappers. Let's make sure we put some paste on it, and then we can close it up. So for the paste, I use SYY. It's a pretty decent thermal paste. It works well for me. I have no issue with it. There are plenty of options out there, so you can pick the one you like. Many of them perform really well, at least not for very extreme applications. And you only want a thin layer. Too much paste is detrimental to the performance, because if the layer is too thick, then it just increases the temperature. So for instance, here I have a little bit too much of it, so I'll make sure some is left on the spatula and just remove it. We should be good, so that's what I have left on it. Alright, last check. I think we got everything in order. So let's close it back up. Make sure nothing falls when you flip it around. So here on that one you have those pins that are to be centered in the hole like that, so that really helps you getting right in. So you can apply some pressure on there, so you have a good contact with the pad on the front side. You can see the pads from the back plate. They are squeezed nicely. There's good contact. They're a bit bigger than what is the minimum size they need, so you see the grain, but at least they are there. Alright, so what happened earlier, when I was trying to clean up the goo we had, I kind of shook things up, and so now everything, all the screws are kind of a mess. So I don't really remember what goes where, so we'll try to sort that out. But let's put first the bracket on it, and then we can try to find out which screws goes where. As you surely know it, never tighten up one corner of the bracket all the way, or to like go around. You just set the screws a little bit, the four corners, and then you go around and progressively tighten it up a bit at a time. That's 3, and the last one. Alright, so at least this is not going to move, and now we can play, the game of finding out which screws goes where. Like I said, there are 2 of them which are slightly lower profile than the other ones. Right, let's see if you can see it. That's the difference between the 2 I was talking about. So those ones, there are 2 of them. Yep, they're going to go in there. Let's set them. And all the other ones should be about the same. I think there's one that looks a tiny bit different. I'm not exactly sure if it makes a difference or not. We'll try it. This one is really tight, so it may need a different one. Oh yeah, that's better. And there you go. So you have it. We've repadded MSI RTX 3090 VENTUS 3X. I'll hook it up on the computer and see what temperatures we are getting now. So as you can see, the process, the main, time-consuming part of the process was to clean up the GPU. Applying the pad and opening up and closing it was pretty straightforward. Nothing very complicated on that one. Thanks for watching, and if you have any question, let me know. Thank you.